LSU has a lot of track speed and towering targets, but some of the stats say they need to prove it. We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, and part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you want to like and subscribe, that is. I'm not going to pressure you, but if you have been here for a while, you're an everydayer, and we love you and we thank you so much. You get exclusive Clemson content all throughout the week, so don't miss out on that. And don't forget to follow me in between episodes over on X at The Morgan T Show, where I talk all things Clemson whenever and however you want. Coming up on today's show, I've done a lot of previewing of the LSU football team, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to tell you that there are a lot of real threats on the offensive side of the ball. I've already told you who I think worries me the most and who could be a game changer specifically. We're going to dive more into that. We're going to see exactly where LSU will tack Clemson in 2025, just at the end of next month. Can you believe it? It's July 10th, and we're getting closer and closer to that very first game of the season. And we know that LSU has big-time speed athletes at the wide receiver position. But I'm telling you right now that none of them actually own a 1,000-yard SEC season. Now, we've heard a lot of hype around them, and they've gotten close. Don't get me wrong, they've gotten close. But there's still a lot of hype around those big-time wide receivers, and they need to prove it. Now, LSU fans, you may not want me to say this out loud, but Clemson could be that number one game, that one that you can prove it, or you could easily fall flat on your face. A lot of people are extremely confident on the LSU side of the ball that they're just going to go in and just have their way with Clemson. And I'm here to say, not so fast. I've helped with this hype. I've looked into the players. I've given them their props that were definitely due because of their talent. The talent is there, but the production, at least at the level that I think you think that you think that you think that I think that you think, is not exactly there the way that you talk that it is there. So Barian Brown, we know that guy's going to get a lot of hype. We know that outside looking in, people are going to say, look what he did against Clemson when he was at Kentucky. And yes, it was extremely frustrating to have someone score a touchdown rushing the ball, a touchdown catching the ball, and a touchdown on special teams. That was extremely frustrating. And can he do it again? He most definitely can do it again. My biggest thing there is Tom Allen is now the defensive coordinator. The defense is still relatively the same as what they had against Kentucky, but just a little bit more experience now. Clemson is by far much better defense than they were in the past last season. So I don't think that you can compare apples to apples 24 to 25. Clemson's going to be much more aggressive. They have a new coordinator and a new scheme, and they have filled in a gap that was their major problem in rush defense at the edge position, getting in Will Help from Purdue. Now, Barian Brown, he has 122 career catches for 1,528 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 kickoff return touchdowns. Nick Anderson, 38 grabs, 798 yards, 10 touchdowns. In Oklahoma as a freshman, but had a quad injury, didn't play any in 2024. Then you have Aaron Anderson, the shorter slot guy that was really their major contributor, 61 catches, 884 yards. Their combined receiving output is not what we would compare to 2019. Now, I would say the majority of you are not comparing them to 2019, but there are a few fans that are saying, hey, this team has it that 2019 team had. My biggest thing is that 2019 team was amazing. And looking back, may even be the best we may ever see. So to go ahead and say that this team has that same potential, I would like to press the brakes on that, because that team doesn't scare me near as much as, this team right now does not scare me near as much as if you told me Chase, Marshall, and Jefferson are going to be on the field August 30th. That output with Joe Burrow in there definitely scares me. LSU receiver room is definitely elite on the stopwatch times. But as my dad always says, it's one thing to be good in underwear. It's another thing to be good when you got somebody in front of you, you're wearing pads and a helmet, and you've got a defender that's up in your face, like Clemson is going to be. You're not going to just get an easy way at it versus Clemson's defense. Now, will they be able to beat him? We'll see. But Clemson is going to get in your face and disrupt you and make it difficult for you to consistently get to that speed that you say that you have, that we know that you have. Clemson's defense, I think, while they aren't as fast, will be able to scheme to kind of slow down bits and pieces. Now, as a lot of you had reminded me, you can't stop everyone, and that is true with any team. And you can't stop everyone with LSU. Guys like Brown and both Andersons, they are going to force the safeties to make decisions, and sometimes they may not be good decisions. Those vertical releases downfield where they just beat you with raw speed, that's going to really worry me. I get it. I believe it. I'm telling you this, though. All the hype around this speed, these guys haven't truly proven it for an entire season. You know, they maybe had a little bit of here and there, but they need to stay healthy. They need to show what they can do consistently. Now, the good thing for LSU fans is this is the first game of the season. So you'd hope everybody would be healthy. I'd also hope everybody would be healthy on the defensive side of the ball for Clemson. My other big question mark is chemistry. You know, they haven't gone through a whole season. I mean, last season, Nussmeier had nobody really other than Anderson and had 4,000 yards passing, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing. He's if not the best quarterback in the country this season. So you got that. But how much is he in sync with the wide receiver targets that he has? It could be a lot of growing pains, more than you would like to admit at the beginning of the season. Speed can often wreck a game. That's for sure. LSU has enough speed to where they can rotate a lot. That's also for sure. So that combination there does scare me. But college football is not dominated by a bunch of track style receivers. We know that. We know that it doesn't always relate and translate, because football is a much more violent sport than running around a track. So how will that translate is my one big question mark back to you. I know you have a fast wide receiver group. But I think Clemson is going to get in your face. They are going to disrupt your timing. You already have question marks around chemistry and timing. Add into the fact that Tom Allen is going to be extremely aggressive and that Clemson's defenses are known and cornerbacks are perfectly fine under Mike Reed playing on an island. That I think that Clemson's going to be more ready for the attack than they are getting credit for in the national media and from the LSU sideline. Will there be LSU fireworks? Maybe so. Maybe so. But I'd say not so fast, because playing in Clemson, first game of the season, night, against an aggressive defense that, from what we're hearing on our side, is extremely confident and getting back to what made them so dominant during those runs of the national championship game. At the beginning of the season, what usually settles in first? It's not blowing out teams by 100 points or throwing up a lot of touchdowns. It's usually the defense that settles in a little bit earlier than the offense. So we will see how everything shakes out. A lot of talent there, but still a lot left to show me what you can really do. All right, coming up in the next segment, I'm going to tell you more about the biggest game changer for LSU. Originally, I thought it might be a running back or a wide receiver. Now, my mind has completely shifted to someone else. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. When you go check out FanDuel.com and look at their research, I like to research things to see where I can get an advantage into a same-game parlay. Right now, for tonight, you've got the best player props for today. Junior Caminero to record an RBI, James Wood to record an RBI plus 150, and Brian Wu over 6.5 strikeouts at plus 122. You combine those together to get even bigger payouts. If you're new to FanDuel, it's not that difficult to get involved and get ready. And the coolest thing is, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 and you can get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Go over to FanDuel and get the FanDuel app today, or visit FanDuel.com and get started. Now, the one thing we've talked about the wide receivers. I know that they have scary speed, but there's still a lot unproven by them, whether or not you want to believe it or not, if you're on the LSU side of things. One thing that does scare me, specifically with just my past worries with and experiences with Clemson, is the combination of a quarterback plus an absolute skyscraper at tight end on the opponent's side of the ball. If that becomes the head of the spear, if you will, I know we're not playing Florida State, but if that becomes the main attack point in the red zone, and maybe not even in the red zone because this tight end is very athletic, that probably is what scares me the most. Garrett Nussmeier threw for over 4,000 yards last season, 29 touchdowns, 80 QBR, 10th best quarterback in the country last season. And again, didn't have a lot of really good options to go for. If he would have had that 2019 team that we're talking about, I mean, who knows how many yards he would have had. But freshman, or I guess rising freshman Trey'Dez Green, tight end, 6'7", 245 pounds. He did not have a lot of work last season. He was waiting for his time to shine. And now that he is going to get pushed into the limelight and be a starter for this team, behind a guy like Garrett Nussmeier, who will be able to get him the ball and move around and throw on the run and be able to get him open, that's what really worries me the most. Nussmeier's aggressive arm, greens, basketball, arena ball, catch radius could create LSU's most reliable touchdown machine. But also, it's not even really about just touchdowns, although that is really what's going to kill you at the end of the day. But moving the chains, when you have a guy like that, I mean, 6'7", 245, an absolute monster. If they get in this rhythm together, he's the one that worries me the most, or that combination of quarterback and tight end worry me the most, even more than the speedsters to the outside. Because Clemson has in their own right a lot of wide receivers that can go toe to toe, and I'm not as worried about going back and forth with the wide receivers. But the gap that Clemson doesn't have, that LSU does have, is a monster tight end. Now we think Clemson has some tight ends that will grow into something legit, but we just really don't know yet. So time will tell on the Clemson side, but Trey'Dez Green on LSU, I think will have, I assume, and I'm projecting that he will have an amazing season in 2025. Behind a quarterback who is really good with the intermediate pass and those dig routes and those RPOs. And, I think that if he can find a way with Green to figure out where the gaps are against the Tom Allen defense, we may see more stress on the linebackers than we really want, or than Clemson is able to deal with. Who on the group on the defensive side of the ball is going to go up against a 6'7", 245 guy? I'll wait. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know if Clemson has an answer for that. I'm not educated enough on how they can fix that or avoid that, I guess. Maybe you can stop and shut down the first downs and the third down conversions. But my biggest concern, too, is just that red zone. I think back to like Keon Coleman. When you have a one-on-one guy that can really beat anybody, even some of the better teams are going to struggle. And Clemson doesn't have at least consistency stopping somebody like that. I mean, when Clemson was going toe-to-toe with Florida State, the play that ended it all was Keon Coleman. Well, really the sack fumble, I get it. But Keon Coleman in the red zone with no one to really be able to stop him or match up to him at all, even if we tried. And I feel as if Trey'Dez Green could be the same guy who could just convert a fade, a 50-50 ball with a guy like this is what they like to say 75-25. His height forces also double teams and brackets that could stress out your edges of your defense or your linebackers. Any kind of hesitation could mean a free shot downfield for someone else, or could allow him to be able to get, a jump ball one-on-one. Garrett Nussmeier is also really good in the pocket. And that's why I've told you podcast after podcast, Clemson is going to win this game on the line of scrimmage. I do not believe that LSU has this monster offensive line that they're trying to tell us that they have. They have talent on the offensive line, but they're replacing a lot as well. Same thing with the wide receivers. They have talent at wide receiver, but there's still a lot that needs to be actually proven outside of a simulation or a recruiting ranking. So another thing about Garrett Nussmeier is he is poised for sure, but there is a little bit of something to the fact that he's had a lot of turnovers against his best opponent. Last season, against all of his ranked opponents, he had 8 interceptions and 1 forced fumble that was lost. Now, again, I know that this is a completely different team. He didn't have any weapons back then, and he had to do a lot on his own. But there could be something to that. All I'm saying to you in this segment is I do not want to see another tight end like an O.J. Howard back in the day. I don't want to see another tight end tear up Clemson at all. I can't think of the Ohio State tight end either, but the tight end position against Brent Venables was one that you could exploit. Is that the same case under Tom Allen? I'm curious to see how it all works out. If Trey'Dez Green starts grabbing early third down conversions, and the safeties and the linebackers had the shade towards him, that's where the other guys can open up and swing some momentum with the other guys as well. But I don't want to see a tight end like Trey'Dez Green just dominate for 60 minutes. All right, hey, we're going to finish up the show talking about what's really going to dictate this contest on August 30th. I don't think any fan base, Clemson or LSU, and I respect LSU fans. I respect LSU. I have no beef with LSU. I don't, and honestly, this is funny. I probably think LSU fans would agree with me. The one fan base that I don't care much about or to hear from in this scenario is the South Carolina fans. And I know you're listening. I know you're watching. You have no desire to watch your own stuff. You have no desire to talk about your own team in your bubble away from everybody else. No, what you do is you lurk on everybody else's videos. You pretend to be an LSU fan. All at the stakes of just doing anything anti-Clemson because Clemson is in your head 24/7, whether you want to admit it or not. And whether you want to admit it or not, no one else in the SEC likes you either. So it's not just Clemson. But neither fan base should pencil in a runaway victory. I'm not saying Clemson should have a runaway or will have a runaway. I'm not saying LSU will. What I don't really want is a pound for pound, shootout. I would rather have more of a settled defensive dictating the pace. And I feel as if Tom Allen is that guy that can do that. He can mandate it. He's brought in his philosophy to fix the defense. He's audited the team in the spring. He's changed the tempo. He's changed the tackling techniques. He has improved the pocket collapse. And he has made a priority on specifics and fundamentals and precision. And the projected starting 4 on the defensive front of Peter Woods, DeMonte Capehart, Will Helt, and TJ Parker have had amazing spring and summer reviews. And we just expect most of them to have a monster season on the front of the defensive line. As long as they can stay healthy, as long as they can stay in rotation, there's not too big of a drop-off. But those 4 guys I trust versus any offensive line in the country. Clemson's defensive line also has a little bit of depth behind it as well. Now, albeit they're kind of young and a little bit less inexperienced, but the talent is there. The proof is in the pudding on that front 4, though. All of those guys I just mentioned on Clemson's front 4 are not like LSU's wide receiver group. They're not hype with not a lot of proof. No, Clemson's front 4 is hype and proof. And they're going to be able to dominate. I think you're going to be able to see from the start of the game within 3 series, some significant pressure. I think you're going to see some significant pressure from Clemson's defense within 3 drives. Clemson's 4-man front, to me, even without needing to blitz anyone else, can collapse an offensive line. Even the best offensive lines out there. You allow a soft edge for TJ Parker, it's over. You allow a soft edge for Will Held, it's over. That's going to squeeze Nussmeier's lanes and his pocket a little bit more than he may be comfortable with. It's going to force him to launch a football before the routes are fully mature. Clemson also has missed on some tackling over the past couple of seasons under Wes Goodwin, and I think under Tom Allen, that's going to get all cleaned up. Too many times a running back was allowed to sneak out of the backfield and sneak through and get to the second and third level because of just missed arm tackles. Spring drills this season for Clemson have emphasized wrapping up, driving to the ground, stopping you early, getting into the football quickly, using your hips and your feet properly, not having a lot of false steps or moves in order to efficiently get to the ball and to the ball carrier. This pressure on the outside, this continuity, this proven ability on the front 4, and the renewed appreciation for proper tackling to the perimeter will start to squeeze that LSU offensive line. Within 3 drives, and I can see you see a little bit of dictation there coming from the defensive front on the Clemson side. As I mentioned, I have a little bit more faith in defenses at the beginning of the season than I do offenses, especially for LSU. I don't feel like they're as well put together or let me take that back. Not put together, but I feel as if they are still trying to gel together, if you will. Whereas Clemson's offense, they know all of those guys. Cade Klubnik knows all of those guys. Cade Klubnik knows all the offensive line. He knows all of the wide receivers, and he knows exactly what the timing is for everybody. And I'm talking about game timing. I'm not talking about practice timing or spring game timing or track timing. I'm talking about game timing. It will, to me, I can see it be a high-scoring game. Some are saying under 28 points. I'm saying I do believe that it could go over 28 points for both teams and be much closer than we probably want to admit on both sides of the ball. I would love for it to be an instant classic. Honestly, the fan in me the Clemson fan in me says I would love for it to be a blowout where I have no stress and I still keep my fingernails. But the realist in me is saying this could be a very, very close ball game between 2 really good teams that could even see each other again later on in the season. Look at the first quarter, and you will see, in my opinion, slowly start to lean towards which team is dominating that line of scrimmage. And to me, the more I run it through my head, it shakes out that Clemson has the better chance, at least Clemson's defense has the better chance to do that. So that's who I'm going with the main reason why I'm giving Clemson a little bit of an edge right now is because of that strength on the defensive line and then the front 7 versus LSU's offensive line. And again, it's not a knock against LSU at all. But what you have on talent on offensive line, you lack in proven ability. What you have on Clemson's defensive line, you get in talent and you have in proven ability. And linebackers as well. Well, I appreciate everyone being a part of the show. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for everyone that's been a new listener to the show, for all the LSU fans that's brought in. All love and respect to everyone for sure, because I just love college football. Obviously, I'm going to be a Clemson fan first and foremost, but I do think it's going to be a great matchup that I look forward to seeing in person, live and in action, August 30th. I can't wait for it. We're just getting closer and closer. So hopefully I'm helping hype this up for you as we get ready for one of the biggest matchups in the 2025 season. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.